Jeff, Zach, thanks for joining me.
Hi, Steve.
Thanks for having us again, Steve.
Well, the Counselors of Real Estate have released their annual list of the 10 most important topics facing commercial real estate. So, thought it would be a good opportunity for us to kind of take a look at those topics and where we maybe agree or disagree, what kind of jumps out at you. Um, you know, let's mention some of them: political uncertainty, high financing costs, low maturity deadlines, geopolitics and regional wars, insurance costs, housing affordability, artificial intelligence, sustainability, office conversions, price gap expectations. It's an interesting list. Agree, disagree with some of it. What do you guys think?
To me, the list kind of touches on everything that we've discussed in some of our prior videos. Um, they all kind of revolve around the same thing: geopolitical and national political landscapes, lending environments, Fed rate cuts. They're all kind of intertwined, kind of driving everything that we're looking at. And the other is demographic, which is office conversion. Um, we've talked about how we think that's a little bit overdone. We've talked about foreclosures being tied to Fed rate policy. Fed rate policy is tied to the political environment. Even though they're independent, they're really not. Um, I, I think there should be other topics that they didn't touch upon. Sustainability shouldn't have been at the bottom. One of the big concerns now is how we develop and using green techniques and otherwise, but creating buildings and projects that will actually last the test of time, such as passive houses. And passive houses are basically houses that are perfectly sealed so that they're much more energy efficient. They don't have contaminants from the outside. They take less energy requirements. They last 50 to 75 years. That's going to, take a lot of strain. If you build upon stuff like that to take strain off of, global warming, if you believe in that, or energy, or, using resources that might be scarce. So I think that the list is kind of, fodder for clicks and for readers, and that there's other topics that maybe didn't make the list that are probably more important for real estate.
Look, I think individually they become, to Zach's point, fodder. I think, when you kind of take them together, the issues kind of highlight some of the complexity with the evolving landscape, which really is the evolving commercial or even for that matter, residential landscape. And part of this is about being adaptable and being well informed on each of these topics so that you know how to navigate through your underwriting and through your operations of these properties. But I think, kind of to Zach's point, some of these, do impact others a little bit differently. And one of those is, politics. We're seeing people right now who aren't making decisions on acquisitions or, leasing opportunities because of the uncertainty of, the US elections. I think you add to it the mix of what could be happening overseas with wars and what happens to the at home or domestic economics. It creates uncertainty in people's minds. And I think in reality, sometimes people get stuck on one particular topic instead of trying to understand all of them together.
Yeah, it's a little arbitrary saying it needs to be a top 10 list. Right. So, if I'm going through this, what really jumps out at me is things we're having to really deal with is one, financing costs. It's a different interest rate environment than what it was post '08. And the market's still trying to come to terms with that, still trying to navigate that, and get a feel for where rates are going to go, especially residential. We play in multifamily, but the residential market, you can really see this impact, particularly with people who have low mortgage rates and don't want to move, and pick up higher rates. The transaction cost is really plummeted. Financing cost is going to be something that ongoing is a big thing. Uh, it, I think housing affordability, and you could roll up insurance costs in there. That's a huge thing, that we're certainly seeing impact the market. And then something that didn't make the list, migration. You've got, however you feel about immigration in this country and, border policy or whatever, regardless, you've got millions of people here that need somewhere to stay. And that's going to impact things. And it also kind of goes into the housing affordability because most of those people are not at the upper echelons. They're actually coming in exactly where we have the least amount of housing to take care of them. So those, and I'm not surprised that didn't make the list because it's probably a little bit of a touchy topic. But just from a real estate perspective, it deserves to be on the list. So those are
I think you also, I mean, you kind of hit on a couple things, but I think we touched on this subject in the past, but it was a different time then, right? Like you had you had a lot more going on. You had the housing bubble, you had the high risk financial products. We've added in regulatory oversight that we didn't have before. The other side is, most people don't really consider is that at that point in time, you had excessive leverage in financial institutions. That's not the way it is today. And then, the other side, I think you probably have to consider is that, during that period of time, we had a massive decline in consumer spending that, in reality was associated with people's loss in value of their primary residence and or their homes that they had as investments. Whereas this time around, we through COVID, we saw values rising and consumer confidence increasing as well. So I think it's just a different market than what what everybody wants to associate with with the Great Downturn.
Well, there's also supply chain imbalances and delays, which everyone says that's going to resolve itself. But we still find that materials can take 3 to 5 weeks of lead time where it used to take 3 to 5 days. You can't get enough stuff. That's going to also be impacted by tariffs, rising tariffs, trade wars, trade imbalances. Again, that goes back to politics. So they're all encompassing and they're all kind of affecting one another. That all goes to affordability. If I have to pay extra, I'm passing that on. My rents are higher. My cost of construction is higher. My sales prices are higher. You've got a lot of tertiary items that don't make this list that I think are more paramount in the short and medium term than kind of just like headlines. They just feel like headlines, and it seems more like the same old as opposed to digging in and really understanding where the opportunities can be and what's really preventing opportunities.
Yeah,
and I would throw in one of those opportunities that's not on the next list is the movement towards the suburbs, right? We've seen retail in the suburbs, strip malls, places close to the home, really heating up. We're seeing office projects in the suburbs doing better, and some of that's probably having just that kind of generational shift of family formation with the millennials moving out of urban cores and what. But that's probably deserves to be on this list too, and it's definitely impacting things, including where we're looking at investing, but also where you're seeing the returns. I think that would be another thing you could probably throw here.
Yeah, I mean the only other point I'd add to that too, just for I don't think this is a paintbrush that you could really throw our comments specifically. You could paint a paintbrush that you could stroke right across the entire United States. Each region is different, has its different nuances that in a lot of ways we don't touch on every single region, every single little market. We're specifically talking about the markets primarily we invest in.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thanks for the insights, guys. If there's something we're missing, something you think should have been on the list, shouldn't be on the list, let us know. Visit our website, selectfincap.com. Get on our newsletter, free newsletter, to see exclusive commercial real estate investment opportunities. Subscribe if you haven't. Give us a like. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.